welcome our next President of the United States, John J.
Madam Toastmaster, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to ask you to help sell speaking. Now, we all know speaking is very important, I'm sure we do, but even those of us who have been here forever kind of keep it, take it for granted. We should be excited about speaking because it's such a valuable thing for everybody. What I'm saying is we should do it for ourselves, so we tell ourselves this is an important thing. We should do it for each other, to show people, yes, you're right, we should all be here speaking. And for others, like if you look at the roster, those that aren't here, obviously they don't think it's as valuable as we do. And the guests, so they can understand what speaking is all about for us. One of the things I think we should do is give a speech like this once a year. Help ourselves understand, help our fellow Toastmasters, and help our guests understand the value of being a good speaker. And to do that, we should do this. Have stories of 3 people we all know who became very famous or very successful because of the speech. And then have some personal things of how speaking has helped you, how it has given you opportunities. Now that would be very important because, people could say, if I give you that, I will in a few minutes, they could say, gee, if John could do it, anybody could do it, and they could say, I can do those same things then. Let me tell you about some people we all know. President Obama. Now, some people think he hung the moon. Some people think he ought to be hung from the moon. That's not so important. It's that he paved the way to the presidency with one speech 5 years ago at the Democrat convention. It was about 40 minutes long and a great speech. Most of us remember it. We don't have the slightest idea what he said. But he presented it so well. It got him into the limelight and gave him a chance to run for president. That was really important, I think. There was a man in the 1930s in Europe. He had no special reason to be president of something or run a country. He had no experience. The only thing he had was he was a corporal in the German army. Now, don't say anything bad about corporals. I was one. Not in the German army, though, of course. And he had the ability to speak, and he spoke before thousands of people. Now, I didn't care for his style. Russ Reddick didn't like his content. But Adolf Hitler almost controlled the world. He controlled most of Europe for a while. And he was up there and he ranting and raving maybe, but if you didn't like it, I didn't like it, the German people bought it all the way. How about this fella? There's a fella, an actor in Hollywood thought he could be governor. he had no experience at all. People used to say he wouldn't even find out where Sacramento was. All he could do was read lines and speak for that. That was all. He ran as a candidate in the primary, Republican primary in California. He was so unqualified. The Democrat Party in California funneled money into his campaign to help him win. Because if he won the primary, any Democrat in California could beat him. And Ronald Reagan did win the primary. In the general election, he won by a plurality of over 1 million votes. And all he could do was speak. But that's how valuable it is for people. And we've got to understand that. It could happen to, I'm not going to run for president. Yes, you do so. I'm not going to run for president, but there's a lot of things we could do. We could get involved. Let me tell you about my experience in politics. I didn't know anything about politics. I was interested in it, but I didn't know anything about it. I knew how to vote, and that was about it. It was Cook County, Illinois. Our first house was just south of Chicago, and there was a whole bunch of people there, all very nice people. They were young people with a lot of kids and no money. So instead of buying babysitters, we traded hours. Wasn't that something? And so we could do things without spending money. That was a great idea. One night One night we were going to the movie, and I went 2 or 3 blocks away, picked up the lady that was going to babysit, took her home, my home. And then we went to the movies. When we got back, I picked the lady up, took her back to her home. And the next evening, her husband came to me. He said, "My wife was babysitting for you last night." I said, "That's right." He said, "She looked at your library. You had books on accounting, and you had manuals on Toastmasters. We're looking for a person to run as a township auditor. Would you take it?" I said, "Sure." It was fun. For about 4 months, I had to campaign at night and weekends, and I won the election and all that. But look at it this way. He never even heard me speak. And he offered me that. You know, when in the 1960s, when I went with Johnson & Johnson, they have hundreds of, probably 100,000 people work for them. So you had to be some kind of different. You have somebody to help you out. And one day I had to, right after I started there, I had to give a report on what my project was for the week. And 3 or 4 others had to also. It was so bad they had to make me look good. But anyway, I got up there and I thought, this is a dull thing, but I'm going to make it exciting, and I made it exciting. And after the meeting, one vice president said, "You're a very powerful speaker. You'll be in my division in no time." And I was. He opened all the doors for me. He did all those good things for me. Now, one thing about speaking, that you may not like this idea, but I did. The greatest job I ever had was speaking. In the late 1970s, I was going on a tour, on a circuit, speaking before different groups. This is the 1970s. I got $1,000 in all expenses for a 20-minute speech. I would have paid them if I had it. But I couldn't generate enough to keep in that business. But if I could have, that's where I'd be today. It was just so much fun talking to people. Everybody thought you were so great. One time I was in Tulsa and they were introducing me. The guy next to me said, "Are you sure you want to do this?" I said, "Why? Do they throw rocks?" People are so afraid of speaking. And I thought it was an absolute ball. So I'm saying, why don't you get excited about speaking? Tell yourself, tell other people, tell all the guests, and tell them that Toastmasters can help them have a great, great value. Toastmasters.